What is stress? Stress is your body's way of responding to any demand or threat. When you feel threatened, your nervous system reacts by releasing stress hormones, including adrenaline and cortisol, which prepare your body for emergency action. Your blood pressure rises, your heart beats faster, your muscles tighten, and your senses become sharper. These changes increase your strength, enhance your focus, and speed up your reaction time. What are the major causes of stress? There are some external stressors like major life changes, school and workplace problems, financial difficulties, relationship struggles, and being overwhelmed in general. Some stressors are internal, like having a negative self image, worrying, perfectionism, a lack of flexibility, and thinking in extremes. There are different types of stress levels. Substress. This is when you try to pretend that you don't care about things and try to convince others and yourself that you are not stressed. Yet, stress does affect you. You may not even realize it. Substress is a very typical reaction of the cool fox. I don't give a flying fig if people don't like me. Anyone who is important to me understands me. Others' opinions simply don't affect me. To some extent, it is good to not identify with the opinion of ill wishers, but no one can be truly comfortable if most people dislike him or her. Pretending not to care is more like a comfortable mask to avoid taking responsibility through self assessment, asking, why don't people like me in general? Optimal stress. This type of stress is helpful. It's the state when your body and mind are prepared to handle challenges. Your senses are sharp and you have optimal blood pressure to bring out your full potential. You are swimming in adrenaline. If you manage to embrace this reaction of your body, you will be able to empower your abilities. Your body usually shifts into this phase before a race, an interview, or a presentation. You dance on thin ice though. If you don't control your state, you can easily fall into the next category, the supra stress phase. Supra stress. This is the stress we hate. The one that paralyzes our brain, numbs our limbs, and makes us feel miserable. When we face supra stress, life becomes a struggle. Experiencing supra stress often can make us fearful of stress. We will try to avoid stress at all cost to avoid the pain it causes. However, becoming anxious about avoiding stress is also a form of self harm. The solution is not trying to cut all stress out of our lives. That's impossible. We need to change our attitude about it. Supra stress can be divided into three groups: manageable, partly manageable, and unmanageable. Some sources of stress are unmanageable. You can't prevent or change stressors such as a serious illness, the death of somebody close to you, or a national crisis. In these cases, the best thing you can do it to accept them. It is not easy, but that's the only way to overcome it. Once you don't give power to stress, but allow yourself to grieve, feel pain, or cry instead, the internal tension caused by stress will vanish. Forgiveness and acceptance can ease the pain suprastress causes. If you forgive yourself or others for something that caused you stress, you will feel a sense of relief as you are released from the stressful situation. Partly manageable stressors are the issues that are partially caused by us. Since we have a certain amount of control over it, we can change our part in it. For example, instead of continuously complaining about the office being a mood killing environment, we can change it by decorating with vivid colors, flowers, and some pictures. If we don't like a colleague, we can decide whether to approach her differently from now on, or to find a way to make her disinterested in us. In the worst case scenario, we can try to change departments or jobs. The most important thing is to eradicate the stressor that causes the damage from our lives. Stressors that can be eradicated should be eradicated. Why? Because even if you control the anger the stressor generates, the poison stays inside you. You might not unleash your bitterness on the person who made you angry, but you will release the tension somewhere. Unfortunately, it will most likely to be on someone who doesn't deserve it and has nothing to do with your stress. Manageable stressors are all the first world problems like being late or not finding milk in the supermarket. This group is the most populated with thousands and thousands of little annoyances waiting to stress us out. Stress, real or self made, must be taken seriously because it can become the cause for physical or mental problems. Stress can inflict cognitive issues like memory problems, poor judgment, constant worrying, a negative worldview, and concentration issues. It can also leave a mark in everyday behavior like causing eating and sleeping disorders, enhanced alcohol, drug, or cigarette usage, and other nervous habits like nail biting. The emotional symptoms of high stress are moodiness, having a short temper, feeling overwhelmed, and inability to relax, or depression. Stress can manifest in physical symptoms such as aches and pains, diarrhea, nausea, frequent colds, and a rapid heartbeat. How can you handle stress better? First, identify your stressors. Do your own research about your main stressors, then identify the category in which your most frequent stressors fall. Substress, optimal stress, or suprastress. When it comes to your suprastress issues, determine which of your stressors are manageable, partly manageable, or unmanageable. First, take care of your unmanageable stressors. Clearly, solving or erasing them is not an option. Ask yourself what you can do now to decrease the stress caused by the unmanageable stressor. Do you need to forgive someone? Do you need to accept something? What can you do to forgive or accept the stressor? Don't get me wrong, you are not doing this for someone else's sake. If your husband cheated on you, you don't forgive him so he can feel better. You forgive him so you can feel better to be able to move on with your life and not waste your precious days in resentment. If someone dear to you died, you accept it because, unfortunately, there is nothing else you can do. When my grandparents died, I felt a lot of sorrow and was angry at myself for not being more present during their last months. At some point, I decided that it was not helping anyone that I stressfully resented myself. My grandparents wouldn't have liked that either. My grandparents wouldn't have liked that either. Instead of wasting my breath on blaming myself, I did everything I can to be more present in my parents' lives. Since then, I feel more at peace with myself. I still miss my grandparents and will miss them forever, but I don't feel stress anymore. I give myself space to truly grieve. That's a peaceful, bittersweet feeling. Social engagements can help you in reducing stress. Share your deepest fears with your friends, it will strengthen the bond between you. However, don't complain too much and don't use people just to free yourself from stress. Have a stress journal. In the process of writing your issue down, you release some tension, and when you read your complaints over again a few days later, you will realize how trivial most of them were and how little of an impact they actually had in your life. Rest, relax, eat, sleep, train. A healthy mind in a healthy body. It is much easier to face everyday challenges and stressors if you have a personalized, healthy daily routine. Experiment with some sample routines and see what works best for you. Build rest into your daily routine. If you want to train only 20 minutes and relax for 3 hours, it's up to you. As long as it fits into your schedule and you can meet your deadlines without stress, go for it. Pay attention to your feelings. There is always a moment where the stress level is optimal. After that, it can turn into hurry, confusion, or mental blocking if you are not in control of your thoughts. Try to grasp that moment when the pressure is still optimal. It is the time when you still think about what you should do to perform at your best. The minute you start telling yourself that you won't succeed, you will mess it up, and the optimal stress zone is gone. When you face your next challenge, focus on finding your optimal stress zone. When you feel like you have got it, do not hesitate. Take action immediately. Don't let yourself fall into the jaws of supra stress. If you can't take action immediately because, let's say, it is still not your turn to perform, keep yourself busy with something else. Go and talk to somebody. Learn to be patient. Impatience often drags stressors into your life, most of the time avoidable ones. For example, at the post office, there are two lines. So you pick the shorter one. By Murphy's Law, the other line will move faster. So you decide to change lines. But fate chooses to laugh at you that day. So from that moment, the line you previously stood in becomes faster. Then you decide to change again and once again. If you had stayed in the line you originally chose, you would already be done, walking in the sunshine and eating an ice cream cone. But you didn't because of your impatience. It is less stressful to stay in a line than to switch places and assume that the other line is faster. Impatience causes stress, which can affect your mental and physical health in the long run. Impatience and anger are like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. When you are in a rush, after some minutes of torturous waiting, your nerves are tearing you up. Stress hormones are ripping through your body, and your heart is beating like a delayed action bomb. You start to imagine scenarios of the consequences of being late, praying for the line to move. But your agitation is useless. No matter the images your wild mind creates, you will still be stuck behind the customer with a cartload of groceries and coupons, on the bus next to the screaming child, or at a cafe with your friend who continues to discuss the same ongoing problem, and you almost expire of fatal boredom. Patience is a skill. It is not innate, but is learnable. If you take the time to acquire this skill, your life will be much easier. You will simply breathe more freely, knowing that stressors don't have any power over you anymore. How can you become more patient? First, find the triggers that flip your casual mood into impatience. Are these triggers people or certain words and behaviors? Is it the 5 o'clock rush hour? If you already identified your stressors in my previous exercise, it will be easier to select from those stressors that make you impatient. If you missed doing the exercise, this is your chance to do it now. What are your main stressors? Which ones make you impatient? Becoming aware of what makes you impatient and why is a great start to changing it. Bringing something from the subconscious to the conscious mind helps you to take control over it. Draw two columns on a paper. In the first column, write down something that happened today that made you impatient. For example, my husband was so slow in telling a story, or the waiter come late to take my order. When you are done listing your annoyances of the day, try to articulate why you lost your patience in each situation. Be honest. For example, I lost my patience with my husband because I was in a rush and he decided to tell me his story right when I was about to head out. Or I lost my patience with the waiter because he took the order of people who got to the restaurant after me first. Every time we lose patience, there is an unfulfilled need behind it. People and events are only the trigger, the stimulus of our impatience, never the reason. Nothing can make us impatient unless we allow it. The second step after identifying our stressors is to rephrase the cause of our impatience. As I said before, we lose patience because we have an unmet need behind it. Identify the need. For example, what is the need behind this problem? I lost my patience with my husband because I was in a rush and he decided to tell me his story right when I was about to head out. The unmet need in this case is the consideration of you being in a rush. You wished your husband was more sensitive and prioritized you not being late versus telling a story he could have told you later. Your lack of good time management also fuels the impatience. You could have gotten up earlier to meet all your morning obligations in time. If you let your impatience speak in this scenario, you would say something like this to your husband: "Can't you see I'm in a rush? What's the point of this story? I feel you'll never get to the point." Hearing this, your husband will become defensive. He will feel attacked and will not be interested in considering your needs. Hearing this, your husband will become defensive. He will feel attacked and will not be interested in considering your needs, namely to wish you a good day and let you go to work. He will start sulking or worse, pick a fight instead. Both of your needs will be unmet. If, however, you address him patiently, focusing on your unmet needs versus his culpability, he will be more likely to listen. I would love to hear your story later this afternoon, but right now, as you can see, I'm late for work. I need to get there on time so I won't be stressed out all day. It's my mistake that I didn't wake up earlier. I'll try to make it up to you by getting home 20 minutes earlier. In this case, your husband will not feel attacked or blamed. You acknowledge your own shortcoming in this situation, expressed appreciation for your husband's interest in spending time with you, and showed him a sign of good faith by promising to resume the talk in the afternoon. He probably would kiss you goodbye, and you would be heading off the next second. Both of your needs will be met, you'll get to work on time, and he will feel appreciated. Let's take a closer look at the other situation. I lost my patience with the waiter because he took the order of people who got to the restaurant after me first. In this scenario, you needed to feel appreciated as a customer. The waiter taking others' orders first made you feel neglected, unappreciated, and maybe insulted. Analyze exactly what you feel, diagnose the emotions rising in you, and articulate what need of yours was unmet. I need to feel like an appreciated, respected customer, telling the waiter, "Hey, you, don't you see I was here first? Take my order now," will hardly win appreciation or respect. Lashing out at the waiter will sabotage both of your needs. The waiter's day will be miserable and he will be resentful towards you, which may cause you to end up with a substantial amount of spit in your pancakes. If you approach the waiter saying, "Excuse me, I am ready to order. I was here before those customers and didn't want to disturb you with my order earlier as I saw you were busy. However, I am in a slight rush and I would truly appreciate if you try to make sure my order gets done first. Thank you." Staying calm, assuring the waiter that you are not mad, and showing interest in his work may win him to your cause. There is never a guarantee he can make sure your order gets done first, but he will likely treat you with respect and be kind to you. You may or may not get your pancakes first, but you will find your need met and will feel like an appreciated customer. Now, it's your turn to think of at least three events that made you impatient. Try to recall how you responded and write it down. Identify who you considered to be the cause of your impatience before. Realize that whatever or whoever that was, it was just the stimulus of your lack of patience. Then identify what unmet need really triggered the negative emotion in you. Rephrase your response in such a way that you focus on communicating your needs instead of blaming others.